Welcome everyone to Streams After Midnight. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Tim.
I got nothing to say.
Nothing? Not got anything interesting?
I was gonna try to say a quote from the movie, but good lord, I don't think I can remember anything anyone said in this.
Oh dear. I love the idea that someone clicks on this episode, or a similar episode where you've equally had nothing to say at the start, and they're trying to gauge if it's worth listening to any more of it based on the intro. And they get to you saying hello, and it's just nothing.
It's I can't speak for other ones, but this one's worth it. I mean, it has to be. We had to. I mean, we watched it, so.
I'm just saying you're turning people away in droves, Tim. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Oh. As long as it still counts as a view if they watch the first 30 seconds. So.
Do you know, average view time is a factor in how they share us out, Tim. It's kind of an important detail. Alright, this is Screams After Midnight. This is our horror movie podcast. We get together, we've watched the movie, we talk about it. It's really that simple. And this episode, which is part of our Octoberthon, you know, we're doing a bunch of extra episodes for October. We had a goal on Patreon. Patreon.com/MailFuzzTV if you want to go check that out. But we had a goal that if we hit $300, I think it was, we would do House of the Dead. Or actually, to be more specific, it was to do a Uwe Boll film. House of the Dead itself was picked on a stream that we did together last month or so. And
to be fair, I do not believe I was originally part of this goal.
I mean, it didn't specify Streams After Midnight, but you got roped into it. So, the movie that was picked out of Uwe Boll's oeuvre. Yes.
Uwe's oeuvre.
Uwe's oeuvre was House of the Dead, which is from 2003, and this was the first Uwe Boll film I'd ever heard of, because it was this was kind of the start of his golden era, where for this to the end of the decade was based.
That's a bit of a phrase.
And what I mean by that is this is, you know, where I started hearing about him, and then from this onwards to about the end of the decade, maybe about 2012 perhaps, that was kind of the era where he just kept pumping out movies, like 3 movies, 4 movies a year, somehow conning the banking system in Germany into giving him money for these bad movies.
Yeah. I mean, he has to be a con man, right? I don't there's no other way that this makes sense about how these movies get made.
Well, because the loophole that he was exploiting in the banking system ended. They closed it, and notably, ever since then, he's basically made nothing. He famously did a Kickstarter which no one funded, and then he made a video telling everyone they were effing idiots and how he hates them all for not funding his movie.
Now, also, I mean, since you seem to know a lot about him, is he a gamer? Does he love video games? What's going on here?
You would think he does, given that I mean, he must have made at least half a dozen video game adaptations, maybe a dozen even, to be honest.
I mean, yeah, the majority of his stuff seems to be based on video games.
You know, three Blood Rain movies. Obviously, House of the Dead. He did Postal. I think it was a Postal 2.
And then Alone in the Dark. That's
there you go. Yeah, Alone in the Dark. He also did. I want to say In the Name of the King. Is that a video game? I think that may be a video game.
I have no idea, but maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. He did a lot of crap. And what's notable about him as well is he seemed to get a lot of actual actors in his films. Like, you know, this is my second Uwe Boll film. For some reason, despite the fact that I watch a lot of bad movies, despite the fact that we are known for, you know, trudging through the shit, I somehow avoided watching any of his films, and it was only when we hit a goal a while ago, the first time we hit a goal that unlocked an Uwe Boll review. I did one with Connor. We did Blood Rain, and that was the first Uwe Boll film I'd ever seen. So this is now the second one I've seen. Have you seen a lot of his films? Is this?
I saw this when it I didn't see it in theaters. I don't think, but I think I saw it on home video just out of curiosity. And because I think I was still working at Blockbuster. Oh yeah, no, I must have been working at Blockbuster at the time. Actually, when did this come out? 2003. Oh wait, actually no, I guess I wouldn't have been working there then. I rented it eventually at some point, and then laughed at it because it was a very bad movie. And then I think I did the same when Alone in the Dark came out. And at that point, I would have been working at Blockbuster. But then I think that's it. I might have seen some of Blood Rain, but I don't think I actually like sat down and watched the whole thing. Maybe I might have had it on the background or something. And then yeah, and then I might have done the same thing with Blubberella, which I'm assuming is a original concept by him. But yeah, I think that was kind of my breaking point with his movies.
Yeah. Yeah, he did 3 In the Name of the King movies. He did 3 Blood Rain movies. He did a film called
Jesus.
Auschwitz, which, to be honest, coming from him, I
Yikes.
can't say I'm excited with the prospect of it.
No.
He did Far Cry. I forgot he did a Far Cry movie. That's right.
Jesus, I don't even know half of these existed.
I know. He's done so much crap. Wait, actually, is there 4 in the Name of the King movies? There might be 4. But either way, done a lot of stuff. But notably, he made one movie in 2016 because he made nothing in 2015. He made one movie in 2016 and he's made nothing since. So his funds dried up. He couldn't make any more movies.
I mean, he can't live off the royalties he's made from these movies.
yeah, because I'm sure these are all making tons of money.
Yeah.
So
like that's what is kind of weird about it though. Like he's certainly a horrible filmmaker, but I don't know, in a much more like annoying way. Like it doesn't have the charm of something like The Room.
No.
You know, and it's like yeah, like for whatever reason he does actually get like the strange thing is it seems like he should have done like movies that got like worse and worse, but for some reason it seems like his movies got like bigger budgets, better stars, bigger releases for some reason. Like eventually it hit like a plateau and started going down again, but like, you know, I feel like after this, like, you know, Alone in the Dark, you know, had some more notable people, and then like, yeah, like Blood Rain and In the Name of the King and stuff. Like, I don't know, I remember like seeing those actually playing in theaters and like having people in them and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember The Name of the King, but I do remember Alone in the Dark and Blood Rain coming out. I never saw them because they looked terrible, but
Yeah.
I mean, when I saw Blood Rain, I was shocked that not only was it terrible acting, but it wasn't funny terrible acting. Look, this is a weird
Sure.
thing where you expect when it's this bad that it's going to be hilarious to watch, and honestly, somehow he achieves like this fine line of the acting being terrible, the dialogue being terrible, but somehow it's just painfully unfunny as well. Like it's actually really,
Yeah.
and I think maybe it's because it's trying to be funny in places. There's things that are supposed to be jokes. On top of that, when I saw Blood Rain, I thought, oh god, like it was filmed in this weird way where it was actually giving me a headache. The visuals, which I mean, the first thing I'll say, I'll get my one positive out the way of this movie, is that the camera work didn't give me the headache that Blood Rain did. Therefore, this movie is better than Blood Rain. That's the nicest thing I'm going to say about it. Blood Rain was worse.
Let me ask you a question. Like every maybe 20-25 minutes in Blood Rain, did they cut to like 2 seconds of actual video game footage?
They did not, no.
Okay.
And you say that when it gets towards the end of this, it starts doing it like every 10 seconds.
Yeah, that's true.
It wraps up. What's weird about it is the opening titles of this have like it has like video game footage playing in the background, but they've done like some sort of weird filter on it, so you can barely make it out. You can only see like the bright flashes of light. It's kind of weird. I don't know.
What's kind of funny is like it feels like in other, you know, it's not like there's like a ton of movies based on video games, and then the ones that are generally are not that good, but like I feel like it's something you would complain about in another movie. Like you would say like, man, it's not like the game enough, but like this one, it's like literally using footage from the game, and you're like, all right, we need to do something about this. This cannot continue.
Yeah, which notably, it still doesn't really feel like the game though all that much. Bizarrely,
no.
Uh,
And do you have a lot of knowledge about the game? Like I
played 2 and 3 on the Wii when I had a Wii, so I played some of it. You know,
I don't think I have ever played this on an actual console. Like this was like an arcade game, right? Like
yeah, it was a light gun game first, but then it got ported. It got ported to things that could have a light gun accessory. I know
Okay.
the fourth House of the Dead got ported to PC, but they changed it to typing of the dead. So instead of shooting the screen, you typed you typed the words, the sentences that would come up. You'd have to type them really quickly, and the quicker you type, the more shooting you'd do.
I've heard about that. That's interesting. But like, yeah, I mean, this to me, just yeah, like when I think about this, I think about going to the movie theater, like, 20 minutes early and killing time or something. Like, I don't know. It's yeah, and I don't really have like too much memory of the game, but so I can't say if this how faithful this movie is.
Yeah, the only thing I can tell you about the game is the line of dialogue. We're meeting G over there. That's like a line of dialogue at the start of House of the Dead 2. It's a really bad bit
We're
of
meeting
acting.
G.
Yeah, that's the character's name is G.
Okay. All right.
We're meeting G over there, or something like that. There's a really
Yeah.
bad line delivery at the start of the set because the voice acting is absolute garbage. People make fun of Resident Evil 1's voice acting. It's got nothing on House of the Dead. Absolutely nothing. So I actually took notes during this movie because I watched it a couple of days early and I was worried that I'd forget things. So I've got like a whole
Dear Lord.
page of just stupid things that were occurring to me as I was watching. So the plot, just full spoilers. We're not going to do a spoiler-free section. I mean, I think we've made it pretty clear the movie's terrible, and
Yeah.
that's all you need to know about spoiler-free. So full
Don't watch
spoilers. Thank you to our Patreon producers at the time of recording. Thank you. I'll just do this now. Thank you to Tyler Hess, Cindy Palisades, David Short, Board Now, Al Tribesman, Christopher Moy, Brett Williams, and David Brown. They're our Patreon producers right now. They're all $20 or more on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You can, of course, support us for as little as $1 per month, and that $1 will get you access to an exclusive extra bonus episode every single month. There's a back catalogue now of probably close to 30 by the end of this month, because there's a few extras in October. But you get access to that catalogue for the $1 per month. At $5 per month, you get to vote in an episode once per month, and you get early access to all the review episodes, and then there's more stuff at the higher tiers. So go and have a look, see if you're interested. I'll keep all the content coming. It was more people joining Patreon that gave you this Uwe Boll film. So
I was gonna say, I can't believe you're thanking people for making you watch this movie.
yes, I kind of hate you all right now, but at the same time, I also need an income. So it's like, rocking a hard place, Tim. Rocking a hard place.
You need that. You need to save up that money to go to that rave that
Yes.
they're putting on.
The Sega rave. It's actually a Sega, because Sega make the video game, of course. It's a Sega rave. There's a big banner saying Sega at it, because
Goodness.
my first note in this is literally just the word rave with an exclamation point. I don't even know why I wrote that down. Like, what made me think about it, but
Never. I mean, I don't think you don't go to raves in general, but especially don't go to raves on like abandoned islands.
yes. Well, notably, this is the same islands that Jurassic Park's set on, to the point where the guy in the boat even says the same thing from the start of the Lost World, where because I only know this because they translate it in the Lost World, but in the Lost World they call it the Five Deaths, but he says it in Spanish, and I'm like, I recognize that phrase. That's the phrase from Lost World Jurassic Park. I don't think it's literally the same island, but it's one of those like 5 islands that are made up of the Jurassic Park islands.
Interesting. Okay.
So, because later on in the movie, there's like a helicopter coming in, and the entire time I was just like, dun 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 dun. So I think honestly for this, I'm just gonna go through my notes and just try and decipher what I was talking about.
Sure.
My next note is serious narration / freeze frames. There's very serious narration as someone's like, oh, there was a rave on the island and they shouldn't have come. And the visuals are just like crashing waves, I think, that are freeze framing. And then there's maybe some other stuff freeze framing. But yeah, it starts off ultra serious, but this guy's like, maybe they should have missed the boat, because if they hadn't charted that boat, then they'd be alive. It's just very serious. Which turns out is the main character, who we don't actually meet in the movie until like 30 minutes or something like that, because he's not part of the main group that come. They meet him later. Which I guess is commendable, that he's, it's subverting the expectations. Uwe Boll, he's actually secretly a master at work.
Of course. Yeah.
Yes. So they come to.
I say, good luck remembering like any character from this movie.
Well,
It's like,
I'm getting. I actually somehow I have 3 more notes before the one that I was about to refer to, so I'll get to it in a second.
okay.
One of the lines of narration here is he says he's describing like his friend, and then mentions his friend's girlfriend, and he refers to her as pure eye candy, but in a very dead serious way. Like it's like he's in a noir. He's doing like yes, and his girlfriend was Stella, and she was just pure eye candy. And you know, like I don't know, it's just it comes off really weird. And then I have an exclamation point after the word boobs. This was actually, I believe it must have been intercutting with Erica Durance. We have to talk about Lois Lane from Smallville, who is in this movie and is topless basically the entire time. She almost immediately takes off her top at the beach with a guy and goes into the water. And the guy's like, you know what? That water's kind of cold. I'm not going to do it. You just enjoy yourself, love. I'm just going to be over here on the beach. And then, you know, because this was something that was really weirding me out in this movie. And I say weird, not in like I'm weirded out, but in a filmmaking sense. Did it strike you as odd that at least for like the first half of the movie, they shot the film like it was a slasher movie, like there was a killer watching from the bushes?
Yeah, and like even like this scene where she's in like the water and it looks like there's someone in the water, like watching her. It's very strange.
It's very odd. They should have like there's a killer stalking them. And to be fair, later on the zombies do hold weapons and like jump over like fences and stuff, so they're more capable than your typical zombies.
Yeah, I don't know if this is supposed to be what the zombies are like in the game, but like, yeah, they didn't really feel like what I'm used to in zombies, which in other movies might not necessarily be a bad thing. Like it might be like, oh, this is an interesting way to subvert, genre tropes or something. But in this, it's just like, what even are these things?
So our main group of characters who want to go to the rave, but they've missed the main boat. They're trying to charter this small boat. And we're introduced to Clint Howard's character, who's got a hook for a hand and a yellow raincoat. But Clint Howard's like on the boat. And then we meet his captain, played by Jürgen Prochnow from Das Boot, a celebrated like actor who's been in Oscar-winning work. And he's here. And yeah, you telling me, Tim, you don't remember his name? What the captain's name is?
I'm sorry, no.
No, it didn't strike you as memorable that his name was Captain Kirk?
No, because I don't care about Star Trek.
Oh, but you knew that's what it was from.
Yeah.
So they say Kirk, and I was like, wait, did they actually call the captain Captain Kirk? And then immediately one of the characters is like, oh, is Spock here too, or something like that, he says. And I'm like... there's putting in references to things, and then there's just like this is so blatant and over the head that it just I don't know, it comes out in this other end of just not being funny, like remotely.
No, it's not a it's what an unfunny person would think would be funny.
Yes.
Yes. there's definitely like, I don't know, like jokes like that work, like in Office Space, like where the guy's name is Michael Bolton, and then that's kind of like this whole big thing, like, yeah, that's very funny. But like here it's just like, here's his name, and then character's like, your name's like that thing. And they're like, yeah, and it's like, okay,
I know, quality writing.
Can you take us to the island now?
Yes, which they have to bribe the captain. And then the police officer lady shows up, and because she's going to do an inspection of the boat, so he bribes them even more to just outrun the law so they can get to the island. Yeah. And it turns out that he was going to outrun the law anyway because he's got like guns on board. He literally smuggles guns and like cigars and stuff.
He has a chest full of all different guns.
Yeah, because if you think someone's smuggling guns, you would think they'd have like, I don't know, like say 50 of the same gun, right? It'd be like stock. It would be like stock of like one type of gun. It's literally just a case of random weapons, some of which are very high military grade, like like proper like big like chain guns, and also like the arsenal of weapons that happens to be around later in the film is quite baffling, quite frankly. The goofy character vomits a lot. There's like a full-on vomit in the face scene here on the boat.
Yeah. And like, I mean, not to skip ahead too much, but just like while we're talking like about the weapons and stuff, I love how these I guess so, like college kids who just want to go rave, are all instantly like great marksmen.
Yeah, they're all experts like immediately. Yeah, and not even just that they're all experts because like there's a lot of slow motion later on, and like everything about it's like, hey, look at how good they are with these guns. Like look at how professional they are.
Yeah.
And how much of a badass everyone is. It's really
It's so
really
bad.
goofy. So when they get to the island, actually no, they're still on the boat, right? And the eye candy slutty girlfriend, right? Whoever it is, who we have another because there's random topless girls at the rave that we've seen already. We saw Erica Durance take her top off, and just so you know, it's a really classy film. We have then another topless scene here where the girl who gets through, she had the vomit hit her, so she's like cleaning her shirt or whatever, and like Clint Howard comes in and like sees her topless, and she just sort of says, "Get an eyeful." But the line that I noted down here is that he's trying to tell the island's dangerous, right? That there's like stories about the island that it's evil, it's dangerous, and he says you're going to need protection, and she responds with, and I quote, "It's okay, I'm on the pill."
Great.
The line made me chuckle. I'll give it like a smidge of a point for having one intentionally kind of funny line. But yeah,
I did get like a little defensive for Clint Howard here because she's like very accusatory of him and like calling him a perv and stuff, but it's like she's just like in this like room in the middle of the boat, like just very clearly shirtless, like she's not even like attempting to cover up or put a towel on. I don't know, I felt it's a little unfair.
Okay.
And he's not like, it's not like he's like leering. He is like, yeah, trying to give her protection from, the dangers of the island.
Yes. You're sticking up for the weird ice cream man, Clint Howard. That's fine.
Yeah.
Well,
Hey, I have a soft spot for Clint. I can't help it. I love the guy.
yeah, there's a lot of weird things. So they get to the island, right, and they try and they find the rave. And when they get to the rave, though, there's no one there, right? There's a couple of bloody clothes, and other than like I'd say the main girl, everyone like just doesn't even care or thinks it's weird. I'm like, you don't think it's weird that there was meant to be like hundreds of people here, like partying, and they're all gone? You don't think that's a little bit strange? Which leads to some lines of dialogue that really stuck out to me. Is the goofy guy who vomited earlier says, "It's time to groove to some funky tunes all night long."
Yeah, that's what college kids do.
And then at one point he refers to him and his girlfriend doing the, and I quote, "humpity bumpity."
Well, I mean, what else are you gonna call it? Come on.
Yes. I don't know. But then I must have had a bit of a skip here where I didn't take notes for a bit because what I mentioned next here seems a bit further away. But eventually zombies show up and all the rest of it. At one point they see like a hut and he's like, it looks like it was built a millennia ago, and it's like, what? It doesn't look ancient. It's a wooden hut, but it's not ancient. All sorts of stupid things like that. But yeah, there's a lot of weird lines in this part of the movie where I got really confused. Which, oh, by the way, the main guy apparently with this group is like the biggest underwear model in America. They mentioned that casually at one point. I'm like, wait, what? What?
Yeah, because I like at some point he gets like a little like a wound on his cheek or whatever, and he's like, "I'm the Elephant Man now," and I was like, "I'm pretty sure you can still be an underwear model, man. You'll be fine."
Yeah, and someone brings up the Romero movies at one point here.
Oh yeah,
and someone refers to it as the Holy Trilogy. I'm like, who's called it that? No one calls it that. I actually got really confused. I got really frustrated actually because I didn't think they knew what a zombie was, because everyone kept sort of like doing that thing where they talk around what they are, and then all of a sudden the main girl's like, just face facts, they're zombies, right? And I'm like, wait, they know what zombies are? Okay, like everything they did before this point made it seem like no one knew or heard of a zombie, right? Then obviously in real life, yes, we would be surprised if we saw a zombie because it's a fictional thing, but we'd still have an understanding of what it's supposed to be. We'd still, they react as if they've never heard of a zombie. But what gets me is that they've been attacked by zombies. I think like one of the characters at this point, maybe the eye candy girl. I think she's dead by this point. So she like shows up as a zombie and starts to attack them, right? And they're all kind of confused and they're trying to like run and hide. The police lady shows up, and right, she just shows up on the island and with a giant assault rifle, like shoots her repeatedly, and then walks up and for some reason puts away her assault rifle and pulls out a giant magnum and shoots her in the head. Right?
Yeah.
She does all this. And I'm really emphasizing this. She shoots her repeatedly with a rifle, pulls out a giant magnum, and shoots her in the head. This is the girl who became a zombie, right? The cop shoots her with a rifle, then the headshot with the gun. And then it turns out, she says, "What's going on here? You just shot someone repeatedly and then went for a headshot." And then it turns out that she didn't know about the zombies. She didn't know what the situation was. She came in and shot this woman repeatedly, not knowing that she was the undead.
And I would say...
Because the reason why I'm so baffled by this, the reason why I'm emphasizing this, is that when she shows up with a giant assault rifle and a magnum, I assumed that was because she knew at least some of what was going on, that she realized she was getting into a zombie apocalypse style situation. But then it turns out that she didn't. She just came in with all this weaponry and shot this girl to shit, not knowing what she was. I don't know. It's just about... Yeah, please make your point. Yes.
Yeah, no, it is astonishing, and like later on, there are people in makeup that do look like actual zombies. Like they look kind of bloated and gray and whatever.
It's inconsistent.
Yeah, but then, like you're saying though, this first one. That woman, when she's like attacking her friends and stuff, she looks the same. She just has like a little bit of blood on her face, I think.
Yeah, she doesn't look like a zombie at all. Yeah.
Yeah. So like at the very, very least, if you are law enforcement or something, like maybe, I don't know, try to at least like fire a warning shot or shoot her in a kneecap or something. But no, like you said, it's just straight like assault rifle to the chest and then pistol to the head and then ask what's going on.
It cuts almost immediately from this to Kirk on the boat. He's waiting for Clint Howard, who's stashing the smuggled goods in somewhere on the island because they want to like have the boat be cleaned for a while. They'll come back for them later so the police can search them. And a bunch of zombies start climbing up on the side of the boat, and Kirk doesn't even like pause for us. It doesn't phase him at all. He just pulls out a magnum and starts like shooting zombies left and right off the side of the boat. Like he's not even surprised. It's weird. Like human beings in this movie do not react to the things around them in the way that a human being should react.
Yeah, I mean, I have so many questions. Like, yeah, like, do people like what people actually know about the zombies going in, and like, is this a known thing? Because again, like Clint Howard earlier is trying to, give protection to, seems like he's trying to ward off like evil spirits. Like maybe it's a mystical thing that's known about the island, but of course later we find out it's like a scientific experiment thing. But I don't know, is that something that's been going on for a while? Like I don't know.
I mean, they end up, obviously they try and survive. They run around. The captain gets bit because the captain ends up like teaming up with them. Right, they end up running into each other, and he gets bit. And I thought this was really weird because obviously once he gets bit by one of the zombies, you're like, okay, so he's going to be the one who slowly turns and they're going to learn like this is how it works. That never happens. Like they tease the fact that he's been bit multiple times and he's like there for like most of the movie, and it's never even brought up that he might turn into one, and they never actually do anything where he does turn into one. He just ends up kind of like going out swinging, but without ever... because if it was like, oh, he knows he's going to turn into a zombie, so he's going to sacrifice himself to save everyone else, that'd make some sense. But it's never mentioned by anyone or brought up in any form or fashion.
Yeah, and what's funny is that there's multiple times in this movie where a character will decide to take themselves out with like an explosion, and which kind of sounds like a good thing, except for that it usually like they never give the other people time enough to get away.
Yeah, no warning. It's weird to me because like they even make a point of mention when he gets bit where someone else says, "Oh, is that a bite?" And he's like, "Yeah, it is. Stings pretty bad." And then they just go, "Okay then," and then just go on about their business. I don't know, it's just weird.
And all this stuff happens from this. I guess like this is about the moment before they go into the. Would this be the titular House of the Dead?
No, because that's after the big action sequence where there's all the slow motion and things. Because they go into another house first because they meet like another group of characters where our main guy who was narrating earlier on with the longer hair, he's there, and then you have the girl who's in the American flag onesie who turns out to be called Liberty, which is like the laziest possible thing ever.
Yeah, and there's a really weird line with I guess it's supposed to be a joke, but I didn't really understand, where someone says something along the lines of like, check the drapes. I don't think she's a natural red, white, and blue.
Oh, I didn't even catch that line. Sounds like something in this movie though.
Yeah, but it's like, it's so weird. So I'm like, I don't really know exactly, like, is that a racist thing because she's like an Asian character, or is it? I didn't really understand it.
It's either a dumb pubic hair joke or it's a racist thing because they're saying, oh, she's not really American because she's not white. Like, it's one of those two things. I do not know. I don't have an answer for you. What I also say the main girl, because I'd say because the main guy is the one who was narrating from the second group, who ends up being kind of like more one of the last surviving characters. And then you've got the main girl from the main group who's the only one who was kind of like, hey, maybe it's weird that there's no one here at this rave. She, I mean, obviously there's been so many boobs in this movie at this point that we're not surprised at this, but she is very deliberate in a top that's very, kind of revealing, low cut. More of the problem though is that she jiggles a hell of a lot. Like she's like the camera's constantly focusing on how much she's jiggling as she's running around or whatever. So it's worth mentioning the movie obviously is clearly like basking in the boobs. It's basking in every potential boob moment it can have.
Sure.
We find out the zombies have acid spit.
Yeah.
One of them spits on someone and they get all acid in their face. That's the thing. We get a flashback to the legend of like the slave who's in the boat, or not even a slave. I think he's just chained up because he's evil and like a psycho. But he's like the evil scientist who is trying to create an immortality thing, so he makes the zombies. And we find out later that the mysterious zombie who's been wearing a hood in the bushes is this guy who's still making more zombies so that he can live forever. He swaps from body to body. Or something.
Cool.
Or he's draining the life force of people. I don't know. It got really like convoluted by the time they explained all this shit.
How did anyone think anyone would care about this?
Yeah. Some of the zombies can jump like 20 feet in the air.
They're like doing like parkour and stuff. Like they're flipping.
But once the two groups have merged and they go and get the weapons, which by the way, the sheriff lady really likes her guns because she grabs like the shotgun off of him and he says, "Oh, stainless steel, incendiary rounds." And she basically does a shitty version of that scene from Army of Darkness where like she describes the gun like in detail. Yeah. She's really excited by it, so mention that.
Yeah, and I mean it's so hard to keep track of like what's going on in this movie, but I forget if this is like before or after they're going like towards the ship at night, and they're.
I don't know. Everything up until they have the big action scene to get to the house is just kind of one big blur of like in the woods and stuff.
Yeah, because like it's so strange. I mean, I hate to give this movie any type of compliment, but like I did kind of like the sometimes like seeing the zombies swim underwater. Like I don't know, there's like a weird surrealness to it that I kind of like, but I mean, nothing really happens with it, but there's like a weird thing where like for some reason like a character just like starts running into the water and like is screaming like their friend's name or whatever, and I'm like, why are you doing this? Like this is so stupid. Get back on land. And then of course she gets like bit by zombies in there.
Yeah, it's just a whole thing. Yeah, because she's trying to save someone, then someone has to come and save her. It's a whole mess. So it gets up to, so they've got their guns and they're going to like they're not even intentionally going somewhere. They just end up going towards this house because that's where a lot of the zombies are, and they basically just walk in one big line like a firing squad, all firing their guns in unison at the horde of zombies coming at them, and it becomes this really overlong, ridiculously extended fight sequence where all these zombies. and they have so much ammunition, they're shooting constantly to the point when this like 10-minute sequence ended and some of them says, oh, I think we're almost out of ammo. I'm like, now you're out of ammo? You've shot enough bullets for the entire military for like a year at this point. But we have to talk about some of the things that happen in this big extended sequence, because there's a lot of bullshit.
Okay.
This is where we have to start talking about the bullet time, the 360 shot that it kept going back to over and over again.
So, I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm assuming this is maybe a reference to the game. Like, I don't know, like in the game, maybe if you beat a level, you get like a little 360 around your character or something. I don't know if you know that, or
I have no idea, but
because it feels like very video gamey, like something you would see at the end of a level or at the start when you're selecting a character.
There's a lot of characters, and every single one of them gets at least one, like, this thing where time kind of freezes and the camera spins around them 360 degrees. It's terrible. It looks gimmicky and, like, music video-esque, and it looks really terrible. And then there's
It's bad.
And I specifically noted down here in this whole bit, hatchet scene, because there's a scene where, or a moment in this where a hatchet's thrown at a zombie, and it is just ridiculous. The physics are wrong.
And is that the scene too where I think someone throws, maybe it's someone's throwing a hatchet at the same time someone fires a gun, and like you see like the bullet flying versus the hatchet.
I think because I think the bullets like stop the hatchet, or she dodges the hatchet as like, as the shells of the shotgun go past the hatchet and go to the zombie. It's like, and the CG there is really terrible as well, might we add.
Oh, it's bad.
The whole thing is ridiculous, and this goes on for ages. Like, everyone gets a 360 shot. Eventually, Liberty, who's the one character name other than Kirk that I remember, because every single time they said, "Oh, where's Captain Kirk?" I started like not laughing, but like just in the inside, just kind of like dying a little bit and be like, oh, every time they say it, it's hard not to think about it. But at one point, Liberty runs out of ammo or whatever, and she just starts doing like kicks and stuff. And again, that gets a lot of slow motion. And even then, I was like, I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be martial arts, like they were being racist, or if it was just like random kicks. Like I'm not sure what they're doing. It's Uwe Boll. I expect the worst. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's awful. But they end up in the house, and they keep talking about the house. So it's like this. So it's the titular house of the dead, you know.
Yeah. And then one thing I do want to mention, because I think maybe it might happen to maybe at least like one or two characters here, but I don't think they do it for every character. But sometimes when they die, they get what I'm assuming is like a death animation, like from the game, where like they get like a little bit of blood, like, you know, like starts flowing down the screen.
Yeah. And there's a lot of cutting to game footage during this fight as well. It's constantly doing it. Yeah.
Which, like, I guess, to be honest, like, I mean, part of me thinks that, like, if you're doing a very video gamey movie and you're embracing the premise, I feel like maybe that's an interesting idea to think about incorporating footage like that, but, I mean, it doesn't work in this at all.
Yeah, once they're in the house, obviously things calm down a little bit. The model, the guy who was the biggest underwear model in America, he has this weird scene because he's the one who got acid in his face, where he starts saying like, "I'm a freak, I'm so ugly, no one's ever going to want me now." Before the girl who's kind of into him ends up kissing him to make him feel better. But like, I think you're an underwear model. Does it matter if your face is like burned a little bit?
Well, first of all, I'm sure that they can do like skin grafts and stuff that.
Oh sure, sure. I mean, hell, my main complaint watching this scene as I was watching it was that, wait, your mind's going to this already that you think you look like a freak. Like zombies are literally still trying to kill you. You're not out of danger. You've got a bit much going on to be concerned about how you look right now.
Yeah, no, it's completely ridiculous, and he like calls himself an elephant man at one point.
Does,
which, you know, no offense, like I don't want to, you know, I don't want to pass judgment on anyone, but come on, you really think this character knows who the Elephant Man is?
That's a very good point. Also, we have to talk about how the cop lady dies, because the characters throughout this fight scene feel like invincible. They feel like they're bulletproof, and they're just like killing zombies left and right. They never feel like they're in danger. And then at the end of the scene, when like her and I think the long haired guy are going in the house, he goes in a window first, and then she goes in after him, and basically just in a like blinking you'll miss it moment, it seems like the zombies grab her legs, and when he pulls her in, her legs are just gone, and she's just dying there from blood loss, and then she dies. Like that's her, and it felt like the death just feels so sudden, but not in like a shocking way. It feels like, wait, what just happened? Oh, she's lost her legs. Oh, okay, I guess she's dead. Okay,
Yeah.
I guess we'll move on.
It's kind of like baffling that like her and the captain seem like the most capable, the people that make the most sense that they would, be able to use these weapons and fend themselves off, and like they're kind of like the earliest people to die.
Yeah. I have a note here that I don't understand. Maybe you can enlighten me. I've written down Captain Dynamite.
Yeah, so I believe Captain Kirk, doesn't his character so I think they're like inside one of the huts or houses or whatever,
Yeah.
and then he sees Clint Howard's character become a zombie, and he get if what I think happens is like when he sees that, he's kind of like, oh no, they've gone too far now. I need to take my revenge. So he goes out, and then I believe he has a bunch of dynamite around him, and then does he jump in a well?
I remember him using dynamite, but I don't remember. Maybe Captain Dynamite's just maybe that's my joke.
Yeah.
Maybe I just wrote that down because he's
I feel like he blows himself up.
Yeah.
He might even like jump in a well or something.
he
And then,
does.
but the thing that's always funny with the explosions though is like, yeah, it always seems like someone's like, hey, you go on ahead. I'll take care of these guys. But then like the explosion always seems like to cause like damage and almost like kill or hurt the other people.
Yeah.
Like
I think
instead
this,
of like being this big noble gesture. I don't know.
this movie in general gets the Paul W.S. Anderson Award for gratuitous use of slow motion, but
Oh sure. Yeah.
one of the biggest examples actually comes up when they're escaping into the tunnels underneath the house. The underwear model guy stays behind to shoot the gunpowder because they find like big barrels of gunpowder, and he stays behind to shoot them. Like the slow motion as he shoots the gunpowder is absolutely ludicrous. Like it's just like such a stupid moment. I like it's just moment after moment of absolute madness. Yeah. So one of the girls gets herself killed in the tunnels, basically for no reason. It's really stupid. The biggest thing though is that the goofier guy from earlier, the one who vomited, the one who was saying humpity bumpity, that guy, the guy, because that's the same guy who we actually skipped over a scene where he was trapped in the porta potty and had shit all over him when he finally got out.
Funny.
He shows up and sort of lures them away, or lures one of them away, and it turns out this is actually the main villain who is wearing his face. But it doesn't look like it's warped or weird or Leatherface style or anything like that. It looks like it's just the actor playing him, right? And then he pulls off the face like he's a Scooby-Doo villain. He's like, nah, it's me! Your friend is dead. I was just wearing his face.
Yeah. I don't know if they're expecting like a big reaction from the people watching this movie, but it's kind of just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, he's also doing like I wrote down Dracula voice. It's like he was trying to do a Dracula accent. I don't know if...
Yeah, that makes sense for this region of the world.
Sure. Yeah. So he's a mad scientist. We get more 360 stuff. I
like the scene when in the lab where like they have like that one like fish tank full of like red blood, and there's like a thing swimming around inside it, and like it's very clearly like stuck in this like whatever cage, but someone is like decides to shoot it anyway.
Yeah, because he's got them tied up. He's going to like drain them of life or whatever he's doing, and they get away. They end up outside, and we get this fight scene. And this is, I was talking about how they're all really capable with guns and they all want to be badasses. The main girl, when they get outside, because at this point it's just the main girl and the main guy, as in the narrator from the start, right? The slightly longer haired guy. He gets like put down, and she ends up having a sword fight with the main bad guy.
Now, I don't know if you remember this, but at the beginning of the movie, I believe during the narration, at some point, the guy mentions that they broke up, and he says like, I had to focus on my study, and she had her fencing.
Do you know what? I didn't remember that. So are you telling me the movie actually set up her?
It does. Like, I specifically remember.
Okay.
It's funny because I specifically remembered it just because it sounded weird to me, because it was like, I mean, you you can still remain a couple if you have to study and she has to take fencing lessons. Like that's it's not like impossible things to make a relationship work. Like, well, he's just studying all the time and she's just fencing all the time. It's
Wait,
like,
was it Underwear Model guy that was narrating? I thought it was this guy who survives to the end that was narrating at the start.
I don't remember who's who, but they.
Yeah, okay.
But I mean, someone if it someone mentions it at the beginning though,
Yeah.
so it is actually set up that. And that's the other thing that I was thinking about. I was like, all right, it's weird that they're bringing up that she likes to fence. I wonder
Because
if that will come
honestly,
into play later.
This entire time, I was thinking, why is she so good at sword fighting? Because they have this big sword fight where they're properly swashbuckling back and forth, and basically, you know, to stay true to the movie's tone, she gets stabbed in between the tits, like literally, like she gets stabbed through the chest in the
That's
cleavage.
right.
That's where she
Yeah.
gets stabbed. And then but we get a game over effort. Like when the business suit guys show up to cover things up, they refer to zombies as reanimated Homo sapiens.
Jesus.
And
All right.
also when they show up, they say, "Oh, we're here to rescue you," and then very just kind of like, I don't know, almost deadpan. One of them just says, "Thanks." Thanks. Thank you. There's a thing here. I didn't obviously get this, but the guy the guy who survived with her, the guy from the second group with the slightly longer hair, he mentions his name finally at the end of this, and apparently that name is important from the games. Apparently that's the villain from the games. This guy. So why he's the hero in the movie, I don't know.
Weird.
If it was something that was carried on into the sequel where he became a villain in the second one, that would make sense. But apparently the second one is doesn't even have these characters in it. Like it's just, you know.
Jeez, I didn't even realize they made a second one.
Yeah, apparently there's the House of the Dead 2, which I didn't know about either. I don't know if it was Uwe Boll who made it though.
Jeez.
Let's
And, like,
find out.
And it's so weird. Like again, these are like arcade shooting games. Like I'm surprised that they even have like characters or like story elements to them that you could carry over to a movie.
Imagine being the guy who directs a direct-to-video sequel to an Uwe Boll film.
Oh God.
Michael Hurst, I don't know what you did to, you know, like get the life that you had, but I can't imagine that you're excited about it.
I mean, it has to be better than this, right? Like it's.
You would think. I actually kind of recognised the actress in the second one, Emmanuelle Voiger, mainly just because she was on Smallville for a bit, which is funny because so was Erica Durance in this one. Is that the House of the Dead's legacy? Is that each one had a Smallville actress in it?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. She was also in Saw 2. But yeah, I vaguely recognise that name. I don't recognise anyone else though, I don't think. Oh, Sid Haig's in the second one.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Well, this one had Clinton Howard and Jurgen Prochnow. The second one has Sick Haid.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of horror legacy to these movies.
Oh yeah. I'm sure they're all proud of their time in these movies. Okay. This movie's garbage. You know, the performances like sound unhuman, but not in a way that's funny. Like they come across as really like try hard and like, or actually, Joe, I think that's actually it's the opposite. This is the problem with these. The reason why we tend to love things like The Room, or we love things like Birdemic, or other movies of that kind, or you know, Verotica is a recent example, right? Or The Evil Within was one that we reviewed a couple of years ago. Is that these movies are made by people who think they're making great movies and they're passionate about it. Uwe Boll, despite the fact that he claims that his movies are great and he thinks he's making good stuff, I don't actually believe that he thinks these are good movies. I don't think he actually cares or is passionate about what he's doing. And I think that comes across. Everything just feels like it's happening because they're ticking a box. Like, oh, we have to have them say the lines like this to set up this thing, so it's set up and here we are, we're done. Movie over.
Yeah, or like I would say, let's say maybe it's possible maybe he is like passionate about it, but he's like lazy about it as well. Like he's like maybe he wants to make a good movie, but then he's not putting in the work to actually make it good. You know what I mean? Like like he's not trying to think of like, hey, this doesn't work, so how can we make it work? It's just like it seems like there's probably a lot of him going like, all right, good enough, let's go.
Yeah.
Or hey, this doesn't make sense, doesn't don't care, it looks cool, let's go.
Yeah, it's like super sloppy. It's one of these things when you watch, like, say, I don't know, The Evil Within, or like, but Birdemic is definitely super sloppy. But some of these other examples aren't sloppy in the sense that there's clearly passion, there's clearly a lot of attention put in. They're just like terrible. Whereas the Uwe Boll films do feel just incompetent in the way that they're put together. In a way that just does genuinely feel lazy. And I hate to call filmmakers lazy, because they are really hard things to do. Like, making a movie takes a lot of work, it's very difficult, and even someone who doesn't make good movies still spends a lot of effort doing it. This stuff, that somehow Uwe Boll's a director who always feels like he's phoning it in. And maybe that's because he doesn't understand how to make a good movie. But then I can critique him because he never learned. He never tried to make a good movie.
Yeah. No, totally.
It's baffling.
And just the fact that he got to like make more than one movie is just absolute insanity.
Yeah. I don't know what else there's to add. It's it's sleazy. It's it's like I say, Erica Durance, his entire character is that she's on the beach, and it's especially bad when she gets out of the water and she's standing in just her underwear, just kind of shivering because it's so cold. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I can't imagine the experience of working on a movie like this for a lot of these actors was that enjoyable.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're totally right. It's sleazy. None of the characters are interesting. Like, they're not, like sometimes like bad movies, like at least if you have like interesting characters or whatever, that can help it. But these are just those kind of typical, like, hey, they're attractive people saying lines, which is, pretty boring. And, the story is nonsensical. It tries to incorporate like literal elements of the game, which in some instances could be cool, but is like so dumb. And again, like, it's in a very lazy way here, where it's like, no, I'm literally just putting like game footage in here. It's like, okay, that's like like the least creative like thing you can think of to do. And it doesn't look good. Like I'm surprised that this was in theaters. I don't think it was in theaters very long, but like,
it barely looks like a network TV show in terms of like visual quality.
Like, he should, like, if anything, Uwe Boll should be like a sci-fi director. Not the genre, but the TV channel.
The network, when they were making Sharknado 5 and shit like that. It feels like he belongs.
Like,
and those things feel soulless. This is miraculous in that it's like one man's like making it happen, but it still feels soulless anyway. Like, because a lot of the good bad movies, the ones that are fun to watch, are because they still have a lot of soul, because you feel like this passion that was poured into it. I feel no passion in this. It feels it feels like it just, I don't know, it feels so cynical. It feels so it really does feel like one person is driving this all forward and is like forcing his shitty film upon the world. But he's not doing it because he cares about it. He's doing it because this is like a weird thing to say, but it's like a one-person movie studio where he's doing it for all the cynical money reasons. He's just doing this. We said at the start, he's like a con man.
Yeah.
It's just a product to him. He's just churning out a product. And normally we say that about movie productions, where it's the studio have said, "I'll make a sequel to this thing," and it's just this vapid, soulless thing, or it's something like sci-fi where they're doing the intentional bad movies, and it just feels like, no, we're just shitting this out so that we've got something to put out. This feels like that's coming from one person, which is weird, because typically when one person is the driving force behind a movie or a work of art, it's because they love it with every fiber of their soul. It's because they care about it, and it's because, for good or bad, they believe in it. And this is I want to make some money, so I'm going to pump out some content, and it's just so cynical and terrible in every way. And it's what makes Uwe Boll a truly terrible director. Is that you don't even have that charm. There's not even that humor to it. It's just bad, through and through.
Yeah, agreed.
Do you want to rate it then? I guess. Do you want to...
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 1.5. Yeah, I mean, there's so very little redeeming about it. Um, I'm giving it the little extra bump of the point 0.5 just because I guess maybe on the one hand, like there is just the idea that it exists and it's video gamey, that there that is kind of interesting. And there's a few times I laughed throughout it because of how bad it was, but it's definitely not as fun as like other bad movies. So yeah, there's very little to recommend here.
Yeah, I I'll go with a straight 1 out of 10.
Oof.
I mean, I think Blood Rain I might give a 0.
Wow.
I think this is slightly better than that, which is not saying a whole lot, but
Yeah. I mean, I don't. Yeah. I mean, we give some pretty low scores, but I mean, ones and zeros you don't really give out lately. But I mean, if there's
No.
anyone that deserves them,
No, I take giving it a 10 very seriously, and a 0 is kind of the same way in the opposite end of the spectrum, where I'm only going to give that out if it's like diabolically terrible, like there's something just like mean about it almost.
Yeah.
And I feel like Uwe Boll is the sort of the rare case where he might achieve that multiple times if we end up having to do more of these. You know.
I mean, I watched Alone in the Dark, but I don't remember anything about it. But I mean, I remember it being. I guess the only thing I remember is that it was really bad. So I wouldn't be surprised if that would be on the same scale as this.
Yeah, because he's such a poor taste director as well. So I know that he's got like real PETA footage and something that's like really nasty. I'm pretty sure Postal has 9/11 jokes in it and things like that. Yeah. There's a genuine nastiness to the attitude that the films have.
Oh yeah, and like even him as a person, like he was kind of infamous for like challenging people to boxing matches that didn't like his movies and stuff. Like it's like Jesus, come on.
Yeah. All in all, he's kind of a shithead, and his movies are just diabolically bad. I have nothing else to add. That is House of the Dead. It's garbage. Sorry, let me rephrase that. It's garbage.
Garbage.
So yes, if you made it this far in the review, please put the word liberty into the comments. Tim, I'm going to make you do the pose for the thumbnail. So if you could please, 3, 2, 1, pose. You look very confident.
That's like my character select
yes.
pose.
So thank you very much for joining us. Let us know what you think of the movie in the comments. Please do hit the like button. Liking is super important on YouTube. It's for the algorithm to say it in the soulless way that it is. But the more video gets likes and comments, the more it gets shared out, and the more audience we grow, and so on and so on. So it's greatly appreciated, and it's the nice, easy, and free way to support us. We mentioned Patreon earlier. If you want to support us financially, patreon.com/MailedFuzzTV from as little as $1 per month. So please do go and have a look if you're interested in that and getting some bonus content. Get us on Twitter at Screams Midnight for updates and funny stuff, and Tim tweets out weird things on there sometimes. So go and have a look at that. Otherwise, continue enjoying the Octoberthon. I think this is going up relatively early in the month, like the second week. So hopefully it's been fun so far. A lot more still to come, and happy October 2020. We'll see you very, very soon, within a couple of days, I assume, if the schedule goes to plan. But yeah, so thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching scary movies, and we will see you next time.